भद्रं मे अपि वातय मनः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नमः श्रीशङ्करानन्द गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलासमहामोह ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे। We saw yesterday that the name of this chapter is called Theatre Lamp, and the example of the theatre lamp is from verses 11 to 16 or thereabouts. So in the first two verses, he sets the general tone of the example, and after that he proceeds to take the smallest comparisons between this theatre lamp and the whatever is going on within the body mind sense complex, and that which illumines whatever is going on within the body mind sense complex, and from the standpoint of the body whatever is going on outside. So just to review, there is a amphitheater, and then there is a lamp in the middle that lights up the audience, that lights up the king or the patron, and then what else does it light up? The dancer. Let's not forget the dancer. And then it lights up the dancer, it lights up the audience, it lights up the king, it lights up the accompanists, the musicians, the vocalists, the violinists, and even the person who keeps the beat, the tala. Tala means the rhythm for the performance. All this we take in when we go attend the performance. No matter where we are sitting, we take all these things in and we totally forget about the theatre lamp. We take the lamp for granted, just like we take the lights in the room for granted. Unless there is a power outage, who thinks of the light? Nobody thinks of the light. Only when the light is not there, then you say, oh, it's dark. What are we going to do? But as long as the light is there, there is a complacency. It is taken for granted. You switch it on and forget all about it. And similarly, the theatre lamp in the ancient India is a forgotten entity. Nobody thinks of the theatre lamp. It is taken for granted. And this is exactly why it becomes a very important comparison to the Sakshi. Yesterday we saw three kinds of things are there. First is the idam, meaning the whole entire jagat of names and forms. And then there is, and who is this idam for? Aham. This idam is for aham. I told you yesterday, ahankara is very lazy, or maybe we saw this morning. Ahankara is a lazy fellow. Makes the sense organs do all the work, makes the buddhi do all the work, and then it eats everything, and then it, what shall I say? It claims the credit as hearer, seer, thinker. In all these words, the first, the ER is what? Is in Sanskrit we will call it pratyaya. In English we will call it suffix. The ER is a suffix because you add it to everything. Thinker, hearer, seer, doer, experiencer. ER. Now, what is natural is for the suffix to come and go, but in this case the suffix is constant and the substantive, that which goes before it, comes and goes. ER is always there. ER is Sakshi. Really, the truth of the ER is Sakshi. So that which is called ER, in that same suffix we have in Sanskrit also, it's called Trich, TR. That's the only difference when you write it. So that which makes the noun into an agent. Here plus ER, what is that? Agent of hearing, hearer, seer, thinker. So same thing in Sanskrit, knower, pramata, karta, bhokta. Actually it's kartru, bhoktru. But then when it declines, in the nominative case, we say pramata, manta, thinker, hearer, all these things, seer. All these are roles performed by the aham vritti. The aham vritti assumes the role of the hearer, seer, etc. But that which sustains the seeing, the hearing, etc. is what? Sakshi. The Sakshi is like the forgotten theater lamp. Nobody pays attention to the theater lamp, and similarly, nobody knows the Sakshi. Thank God Sakshi is enlightened, otherwise Sakshi would have a complex. The Atma would have the biggest complex. Nobody loves me. Nobody thinks of me. Everybody misunderstands me. Atma will sit and cry. But thankfully, Atma doesn't do any of that, because Atma does not suffer from self-ignorance. So this he is the hearer is illumined by who? How do I know that I am the hearer? That is because of the light of the Sakshi. Unlike the theater lamp, the light of the Sakshi does not require oil, wicks and all these things. It is self-shining light. The light of the Sakshi illumines everything that is outside this body-mind-sense complex, illumines the Jagat in the form of what is called idam, this vritti, this cognition. So this cognition is illumined by what? Sakshi. And then this cognition is for the sake of whom? I. The I is also illumined by what? Sakshi, the I thought here. Ahankara, I here means ahankara. The ego is the one who says, I am the knower, janami, shrinomi, ikshe, karishyami, I will do, I will go, I am the shaker, the mover. All these cognitions, the I thought is also illumined by what? Sakshi. And then who illumines the Sakshi? Itself. Don't say theater lamp, okay? Yeah. Because that is the example, this is the exemplified. So the theater lamp is that which is like the Sakshi. Nobody needs to shine the light on the theater lamp. Nobody needs to shine the light on the Sakshi. It is self-lit, self-luminous, self-illumining, self-evident Sakshi. It doesn't need to be lit up, just like the sun, which illumines the whole earth, doesn't need to be lit up. And that same idea is presented here, more in the sense of a performance, which is very, very nice here, because then we can, if this much is understood, and this is what we saw a little bit earlier, I think in verses 11 and 12, we saw this. And what did we see? Let us just revise that to make sure we have not left out anything. So, Nrityashala sthito deepaha. Nrityashala, dance hall. Sthitaha, remaining. Deepaha. The theater lamp in the dance hall What does it do? Deepyate, lights up. What does it light up? What does it illumine? Prabhum. Prabhu means the king or the benefactor. What are they called? Patron of the arts, the patrons. The patron, and then Sabhyan. Sabhyan means the seats and the audience, the connoisseurs of the dance. The people who are appreciative, they know the raga, they know various dance forms and everything, and they have come to appreciate it. And those are the people that are called they are called the assembly of people, the sabhyaha. And then what else? Nartaki. Nartaki means the dancer. The dancer also the theater lamp illumines. And then Deepayet. It will illumine how? Avisheshena Deepayet. Avisheshena means without leaving anything out. Without leaving anybody out, without leaving anything out, it illumines everything beautifully. And then tad abhave api deepyate. This is important. So before the dance program begins, what is there? Empty stage is there, correct? Yeah. And the places where the orchestra sits, that is also empty. And the audience is yet to come, that is also empty. And the king or the patron who has their own special box or special seat right in the front, that is also empty. Theater lamp is burning bright. And when I look at the theater, when I look at the dance hall, what do I see? I see the absence of the dancer. There is a cognition of absence. Anupalabdhi is here. There is the absence of the dancer, the orchestra, the audience, the patron, all of this. There is an absence. And and how do I cognize absence? Is absence, this is a very important question, is absence, is it aham vritti or idam vritti? The absence of idam is cognized by aham because of what? Sakshi. This Sakshi light lights up the absence. And in the same way, the light of consciousness, we can call it that, this consciousness, this awareness, which is the truth of the I, lights up the goings on in the ahankara, and then what else? In the ahankara, in the jagat, and then lights up the mind and lights up the absence of idam vritti. It lights up the presence of idam vritti, this cognition. Suppose, there is a thought. There are many, many thoughts, and all the thoughts it lights up, and suddenly there is no thought. Why? Because the person has gone into samadhi. No thought is there. And that also is lit up. Because when one comes out of samadhi, what does one say? I was in samadhi for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is. This is very beautiful. And then also in sleep, what is happening in sleep? Is there this cognition in sleep? No. Is there ahankara in sleep? No, because that also has gone into a causal form. The mind also is gone into a causal form. This cognition is not there, meaning idam vritti is not there. The awareness of ahankara as this I thought, that is also not there. But what is there? Sakshi is there. Just like the light lights up the empty theater, the Sakshi lights up the empty mind emptied of thoughts. The Sakshi lights up the ahankara, which is right now not complaining. The absence of complaints is lit up by the Sakshi. But only thing is, since the mind is not available to translate this absence or to broadcast this absence, therefore this absence is recognized when? Upon waking. Sukhamaham aswapsam. Happily I slept. I did not know anything. How do you know that you did not know anything? Sakshi. The light of the Sakshi tells you in hindsight that you slept very well. And what does that mean? I did not know a single thing. Nothing I knew. That is how I slept. Why? Because there is no complaints in sleep. Credit card debt gone for the time being, and then all other anxieties of the future gone for the time being, the regrets of the past gone for the time being. That's why sleep is likened to moksha, a temporary moksha, no complaints. One is one with Ishvara. There is no separation, no division. No vikalpa, no division is there. One is one with Ishvara. Sleep verily is moksha, except you are not there to enjoy it. Yeah, that's the only thing. So, whether sleep is moksha for you or not, for the family members, your sleep is definitely moksha because they don't have to deal with you. This is very nice. So this way, the absence is also lit up. This is a very important thing. We don't think about these things because our head is full. We don't know how to empty the head. And we don't know how to even understand that we are cognizing the emptiness, cognizing the fullness. And we are not seeing that at all. So this is the Nrityashala. And then he will talk in the next verse, he talks about he unpacks the Drishtanta and he says, Ahankaram dhiyam sakshi vishayanapi bhasayet. So this, in the same way like the theater lamp, the sakshi would light up. What does it light up? Ahankara. And then what else does it light up? The buddhi it lights up. The buddhi reports to ahankara. All of them, everything reports. All the things inside report, the manaha, buddhi, chittam report to ahankara. And also the sense organs report to ahankara. Organs of action report to the ahankara, and then therefore here the sakshi lights all of them up, and then it says that ahankaradi abhave api swayam bhati eva purvavat. Just like the lamp in the theater, the absence of ahankara, the absence of the buddhi is also lighted up. So the whole Drishtanta has been set up here, very beautifully set up. And then the discussion continues. What does it say? The discussion continues by saying, Nirantaram bhasamane kutasthe jnapti rupatah tadbhasa bhasamana iyam buddhihi nrityati anekadha. Now we have started to unpack the Drishtanta, unpack the example. But before that, the Sakshi is qualified by two very beautiful words used in Vedanta. And it's good to know them because you can impress your friends after going back from here. Yeah. The first one is Kutastha. Kutavat tishtati iti. And kuta means anvil. Nobody knows in these days of throwaway culture, nobody knows what an anvil is. But if you go to India, especially in the small towns and rural areas, there is one, what is that person called? Shoe repair person. Shoe repair person, yeah. We say, what is that? Blacksmith? No, yeah, something like that. Cobbler, yes. Shoe repair wala, that is cobbler. We call that person mochi, but here mochi means something else, some kind of a food item. Some kind of a food item made of rice is called mochi. But that's not, that's why we will say cobbler. Okay. So this cobbler, needs to, so you go there hopping on one leg because the shoe is broken, and then the cobbler first gives you something to stand on with both the legs, and then after that takes the shoe, and there is a weird little looking thing, small thing but very heavy, made of iron with various protrusions, and then he will see where the heel of the shoe or the toe of the shoe, where it fits, and uses that as a place to bang small nails or do a little bit of sewing where it is torn, it is broken, or put some glue and stick the sole back together. So what happens here? The shoe moves, the cobbler's hand moves. What is the one thing that doesn't move? The anvil does not move. And so a very common way in which the Sakshi, the Atma, is described as an anvil, unmoving. And yesterday we saw that only the unmoving thing can cognize movement. In the last class we saw that. If everything is moving and there is nobody to cognize movement, then what is the use? There is no movement at all, we would say. So the unmoving anvil lends itself to to various changes for what is superimposed upon the anvil, namely various kinds of footwear. Kutavat tishtati iti kutasthaha. Sthaha means remaining as like even an anvil. This is another small example. So the Atma, another word for the Atma is what? Kutastha. So that is what here the Sakshi is called Atma, which is the light of consciousness to which everything becomes evident. And the I is, which is the I, the truth of the I which is mistaken for the Ahankara is actually the Sakshi. And so this Sakshi is self-evident and is called Kutastha because like the theater lamp, it does not move. Theater lamp does not move, cannot move. Does not get up and walk away and say, this is a boring program, I'm going. No. It remains stationary, like even the Atma is stationary. Stationary means unmoving. Stationary does not mean localized in one place. So we should not take we should not drag the example too much. We cannot say theater lamp is in one place, Atma is in the heart. No. So the Atma is all pervasive but unchanging. So here Kutastha, unchanging. No matter how much the cobbler bangs on the shoe gets altered, but the anvil is free of all kinds of afflictions. So that is one word we need to know. And the second word, which is a beautiful word, is Jnapti. Jnapti Swarupa. Jnapti Swarupa means of the nature of Jnapti. What is this Jnapti? Jnapti, the word comes, is an abstract noun formed by the root verb jna, to know. Jnapti means knowledge, but then when we think of knowledge, it's always, to know or knowledge, we immediately start thinking knowledge of what? Is it physics? Is it biology? Is it botany? Is it computers, IT? What knowledge is it? But here, the knowledge means that all-knowing consciousness which lights up the hearer, which lights up the subject, which lights up the object of hearing, namely the sound coming from outside. Right now the trees in the wind rustling we can hear. So I hear the trees and immediately what do I say? I am the hearer of the sound of the wind. the sound made by the trees when the wind blows through them. I am the hearer. Here, I am noticing that hearing is taking place. So the Sakshi lights up the hearer and lights up the sound. What does it light up first? Sound or hearer? Huh? Hearer? Sound? There is no first. It was a trick question, yeah. There is no first. It has to be simultaneously. Why? Because it is without limits. Like when the sun shines, does it shine in one place more and other? Sun at noon we have to take. Does it shine in one place first and then in the other place? No. It's simultaneous. Yugapat. So similarly here also in every knowledge there are three components. First is the hearer, seer, thinker. And what is it that connects me, the ahankara, to the object of knowledge, namely the sound? What is the bridge? Ears. The sense organs are the bridge. So when we say, I know, all these three operations have taken place. The hearer is present, yes. And the heard is present, yes. And the means of hearing are also present. Then if we ask, which is Sakshi? The answer is, the Sakshi is not any one of them, yet it upholds all of them. Because it is all pervasive, because it is without a second, it upholds everything because it is everything without being any one thing. Hearer is Sakshi. Sakshi transcends hearer. Thinker, hearer, all of them are Sakshi. Without Sakshi, there is no hearer, no thinker. But then, when you say, okay, hearer is Sakshi, then Sakshi is hearer. No, if Sakshi is hearer, Sakshi cannot be the object. If Sakshi is subject, Sakshi cannot be the object. If Sakshi is object, Sakshi is delimited by not being the subject and not being the bridge between the subject and the object, sense organ. It is all three. It sustains all of them. Without the light of this awareness, no hearer can be there, no seer can be there, no knower can be there. It lights up everything without becoming any one thing. This is true of every operation. Seer, sight, seen. Hearer, heard, and then hearing. Knower, known, means of knowing. Thinker, object of thought, and then the mode of thinking. Each knowledge has these three components, and all these three components are simultaneously lighted up by the witness consciousness called Sakshi, and this witness does not become any one of them. Like the sunlight shining on the tree does not become the tree. Sunlight shining on the rope does not become the rope. Sunlight shining on the pot does not become the pot. It remains itself and it lights up everything without becoming any one thing. This is what we mean by limitless consciousness. And that is why it is able to light up the presence, and it is also able to light up the absence effortlessly. At the end of the day, how many cognitions we've had? We can't even count. How many idam vrittis? This. The moment you wake up to the moment we go to sleep, how many vrittis, how many thoughts are in the head? We can't even count. And how many aham vrittis? I think I'm great. No, I'm not great. I think I'm okay. No, I'm not okay. Like this, so many thoughts. thoughts connected to the outside, thought connected to within the body mind sense complex. And then if the Sakshi had a human mind, it would be very, very tired. It would say, oh, this person overthinks everything. Why I have to light up this? Why do I have to do this all the time, day after day after day? And that is just one head, one complicated head. And then now how many complicated heads are in the world? 8 billion complicated heads. And then I have to light up all the idam vrittis, all the aham vrittis. And when do I get a holiday? I need a holiday. I'm not having Fridays off. I need a holiday. When will be my holiday? Sakshi doesn't say that. Why? Because the lighting up, even though the word lighting, lit up, the word to light is an action, here it is not an action, it is its very swarupa, its very nature. That's why it doesn't get tired, because it's not doing anything. Otherwise the sun should also get tired. All the time I'm moving, I'm going here, I'm going there. Right now I'm in America, then I have to come back to India, and I have to go here, I have to do that. All these countries I have to light up. I have to do this, I'm tired. I'm tired of all this. I need a vacation. The sun does not say, I need a vacation. Similarly, Sakshi also does not need a vacation. Why? Because it is not working. A non-working Sakshi, simply by being itself in proximity to the Buddhi, it lights up the Buddhi. In proximity to the object of the Buddhi, it lights up the object, it lights up the subject, it lights up everything in between, and it does not get tired, because the lighting up is not an action at all. Not at all an action. And so Jnapti Swarupa means exactly that. That which doesn't need to be lit up, and that avisheshena, without any particularities, without any specificities, lights up the whole universe, and then everything there, lights up the knower, lights up the known, and everything in between, without any ayasa. Ayasa means exhaustion. There is no exhaustion because it is limitless, number one, and there is no exhaustion because there is no action. It is free of action. And then, so if this much is understood, so then then he starts to unpack the example. So tad bhasa, because of that light, what happens? Bhasamana iyam buddhihi. This buddhi, what does it do? This buddhi dances. Like what? The dancer. The buddhi is like the dancer because it undergoes many, many changes. Now happy, now sad, now annoyed, and now contented, now disenchanted, now bored, now tired, now sleeping. So this buddhi, the intellect, goes through so many changes. The intellect here means all of this. The manaha, etc., they go through so many changes that it is hard to keep track of these changes. Very, very difficult to keep track of these changes. All these changes the buddhi undergoes, and just like the dancer, we will see tomorrow the dancer, what she will do. And so in 1 minute, so many different moods. Suddenly frightening mood. She has taken the form of the goddess, the divine mother, who puts an end to all the asuras. And she has these fiery eyes. The dancer has to show that. And in the next second, she becomes the asura that is about to be killed. Trahimam, pahimam, save me, help me, don't kill me. So from the frightening look, what does she now have? Frightened look, without even a second passing. And then Even the dance form is beautiful. The classical dance forms in India are very, very beautiful. And very subtly, even the most abstract concepts can be somatized, can be shown in the body, and then the dancer is like the buddhi. Now the question is the buddhi independent? No. The buddhi is dancing in connection to the impression brought by the sense organs. The mind, the intellect are responding to what? Whatever the sense organs are giving information. And if that information brought by the journalists in the form of the sense organs is something pleasing to me, what will the buddhi say? Aha, very nice, wonderful. And if it is going against my raga dveshas, if I don't like what is there, the buddhi gets angry, the buddhi gets defensive, the buddhi gets upset. It's not happening. Why is it not happening? What is this? All this going on? The buddhi undergoes change after change after change after change. But the sakshi does not undergo any change. The buddhi responds to who? The buddhi responds to the sense organs, and so the dancer is the buddhi. The dancer is dancing to the tune of what? The accompanists and the drummer. And so the accompanists and the drummer are what? All the orchestra are the sense organs. It's going to say in the next verse. They are the sense organs, and the buddhi is the dancer. The buddhi is captivating everybody, but the buddhi in the form of the dancer, but the connection here is that the quick buddhi, which goes through so many changes, so many emotions, so many thinking and cancelling that thought, planning, cancelling the plan, having another thought, cancelling that thought, all of this, in and through all these changes, the sakshi remains what? Totally, completely unchanged, because it is effortlessly shining the light without getting exhausted. It is the limitless consciousness that is just illumining the machinations of the mind and the buddhi without getting affected by it. Buddhi is affected by emotions, buddhi is affected by the sense organs, but the sakshi is not affected. This is the idea. More we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
So I'd like to thank again very much